Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, music ministry. I'm coming to you this morning, drinking my coffee, from the choral library upstairs in the sanctuary building. Not many people come up here. It's mostly just me and Charles, and sometimes Jill Burke comes up here to do some filing. Anyway, I wanted to let you know one of the ways I've shifted my focus during the quarantine. See, without regular ensemble rehearsals, I have about 3 full days each week free that I needed to fill with some kind of work that I felt was meaningful. So, I've taken up my choir library database project again that I started the summer before I went to grad school. There's a previous database, but it was only on paper, and there's no way to cross-reference by season, composer, text title, some of those other things that you need when you're programming choral music for a church choral ensemble. The reason I chose to go ahead and record this now is because of the devotional I just read in My Utmost for His Highest. I think I've mentioned this devotional book to you before. It's not new. The author, Oswald Chambers, published it in about the late 1950s, and it has 366 devotionals in it, one for each day of the year. In today's devotional, he centered around one verse, Psalm 55:22, which says, "Cast your burdens on the Lord." See, the burdens that I think are overwhelming, like not seeing you and having to partially change my work week routine from rehearsal preparation to data entry, will seem trivial to a lot of people, even inconsequential. Still, I've had to adapt my life just like everyone. What might be worse is that if we set out to serve God and do His work, but get out of touch with Him, the sense of responsibility we feel will itself be overwhelming and even defeating. One of the best things about God, though, is that He invites us, even expects us, to place our burdens on Him. He wants us to deliberately place our cares on His shoulders. Then we can begin to see God's victory in our lives. Speaking of that victory, the hymn I've chosen for today is the Henry Francis Light hymn, "Abide With Me," which most of us know, set to the tune "Eventide" by William Henry Monk. Those of you in the chancel choir will know this setting well, as we've sung it as a call to prayer many times. You may remember that one of my dearest friends is a composer I was in college with by the name of Daniel Porter. We've sung some of his music over the years. Daniel has a tremendous sensitivity to things that I would never think of, so about 5 years ago, in the middle of a writer's block, I called him up. I had been trying to write an original harmonization of the tune Eventide for a few days, and I had gotten stuck after the first phrase, every single time. I had several versions of what I wanted, but I kept getting bogged down in other settings that I had heard or performed before. What I was writing wasn't really original so much as it was an assorted collection of other composers' work. I said as much to Daniel, and he said he'd go with it and see what turned up. He texted me in about an hour saying he'd finished it. What for me was so laborious, for Daniel was merely an exercise. The text, though, is what he focused on the most. The third stanza of Light's hymn is so important to me during this quarantine. "I need thy presence every passing hour. What but thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and stay can be? Through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me."
I need thy presence every passing hour. What but thy grace can foil the tempter?
I hope you gain some solace and inspiration from these words. Until we see each other again, be well and wash your hands.